Hello, everyone. We're just waiting, giving people a few minutes to arrive. Thank you very much for joining us for the October desktop time. We are, of course, very privileged, and I'll introduce them in a moment as well, but we have Gina Rodkey with us, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with. And we also have Maurice Verdugo, who's with us as well to talk about LedgerSync today. So we are going to get started in just a couple of minutes here. People are starting to join us now. For those of you that aren't familiar with Desktop Time, this is a forum that is for all of you weirdos that like to use desktop. That's just kind of who we are. That's why we're Desktop Time. So if you, doesn't mean we're anti-cloud or anti-SaaS. It just means that if you want to keep using your desktop, there's a lot of different applications you can continue to use. And oh, by the way, we're sponsored by this goofy company, Qbox. And if you're looking for a way to share your desktop file with other people remotely, Qbox is a great way to do it. So we do sponsor Desktop Time, and if you're interested, please visit our website at Qbox Plus. Also want to mention today, because I tend to forget these things because I'm getting old, QB Connect is right around the corner. If you haven't registered yet and you're planning to go, really it's about time to do it. San Jose is a big city, but it's not that big, and hotels are going to sell out, I'm sure. And for the record, because I always like to boast about this, see, I go to Scaling, I stay in a hotel, and I ship stuff. Well, QB Connect is right here in San Jose, California. So guess what? We get to sleep at home. We drive there each day. It's pretty cool. So if you need any suggestions for restaurants or places to hang out, feel free to email Allison. She'll help you out with that. So she's over there hiding, by the way, as she always does. So anyways, welcome to Desktop Time this month. Again, we're very privileged to have Gina and Maurice with us. I see somebody commenting. I think it's Matt. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce them both to you. I'm going to read their bios. Gina has been supporting small business owners with their bookkeeping needs for over 15 years. In 2013, she started her own business, Gina's Internet Advising, virtual bookkeeping, to give the small business owner the freedom to focus on their business rather than the time-consuming job of keeping track of their financial records themselves. She works virtually using the latest online technology to streamline and automate the data entry process, which we're going to talk about today. And she's currently the treasurer for Parksburg Area Business Association and Salisburyville Historical Society. I hope I got that right.
You got them both right.
Okay. Thank goodness for those phonics when I was young. And hosts a weekly virtual meeting for the Small Business Accounting Advisors, which I have had the pleasure of taking part in before. We also have Maurice Verdugo with us today, who is the CEO of LedgerSync, a Los Angeles, California-based company. Yay for California, boo in Los Angeles. Sorry, no offense to anybody here from Southern California. Go Giants. Maurice founded LedgerSync after personally experiencing the many perils of getting bank statement data to his accountant. The company is built on the premise of providing desktop users with an easy-to-use interface to fetch client bank data and fill in gaps created by QBO or QuickBooks Online. When at home, Maurice lives in Los Angeles with his wife and 4 kids. So I always like that part. I'm like you. I have 4 kids too, actually 6 blended. So I know how it is. But I'm on the other end though. They're all older like me, so I only have 1 still in high school. So anyway, so thank you very much, both of you, for joining us today. As I mentioned, Gina's actually going to be. We're going to have some discussion here about her practice and how she uses technology, and as I mentioned in her bio, she supports her clients virtually by using some of the tools that we like to promote here on Desktop Time, and she has some that she's going to be introducing that she's used firsthand as well. So Gina, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you, and we can talk about some of those resources, and I'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Hello, how is everyone? This is just how I use virtual technology for my practice. There are a lot of apps out there, a lot of new apps coming out, and whatever works for you is what's best. So all I can give you is my advice and what works for me. So I'm going to start out with Zoom, with what we're using now. I don't know if there are other people out there that have been QuickBooks Pro Advisor for many years like I have. Originally, when I first started out, I used to drive everywhere. I would have to drive to a client to do the bookkeeping. I would have to drive to the clients to pick up the database from their QuickBooks desktop. I would have to drive to the clients to do training sessions. So Zoom was amazing. Well, actually, it started out with Log Me In and then Join.me. But when I found Zoom and how well it works and how easy it works, I started using Zoom for all of those things. I'm able to train clients with it and record that, which is really so much more awesome than being able to go to their business and training them, and then they forget this, they forget that. Being able to record it allows them to go back and replay that training anytime they need it. So Zoom is one of my favorites. I'm going to say another favorite is file sharing with Dropbox, Evernote, and Google Drive. That has just put spreadsheets and documents on steroids. I mean, to be able to share with other people and collaborate in real time is just awesome. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go ahead and say QBox is another one. I know we're not supposed to promote QBox so much, but
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, it works. I mean, previously, I would have to go to the client and we would do this backup and restore routine. So I would back up the files from the client and then take it back to my office, restore it at my office while I had their database. They couldn't do anything if I needed to make changes and bring it back. They absolutely lost the use of their database while I had it in my possession. So I took it back and restored it for them. Intuit came up with the accountant's copy, and it's a lot better in theory than it is in practice. When it worked, it was good, but more times than not, it did not. So trying to get that accountant's copy back on the client's database sometimes took more time than if we had actually done the work at the client's office. So QBox eliminates all of that. Eliminates all of that.
Well, we hope that's the case. I mean, QBox does provide, for those of you that haven't tried it, it does provide an alternative to, like Gina mentioned, the accountant's copy and pulling backups, which sometimes even just frustrates the client. They forget how to do it, or they forget how to put it back into their files. So the concept, which, oh, by the way, Intuit even talks about the shortfalls of the accountant's copy and the limited functionality it provides to the financial professionals. So it's a much simpler process in general to use QBox in support of those clients. Just out of curiosity, what percentage of your business, do you have some hosted clients and some SaaS folks also on QuickBooks Online or Xero, or are they all?
I do have SaaS on QuickBooks Online. I have never liked the hosted option.
Okay.
Again, that's a thing that when it works, it's wonderful, but when it doesn't, it really creates headaches.
Okay.
So, yeah, the QBox is working for me for my desktop clients, and I'm now at this point about 50-50 with desktop and QBO. Okay.
Now, actually, I was curious about your Zoom statement, because we, as I mentioned to you before we started, we actually use it here now in support and also for venues like today and other webinars. But for us, we found that it seems to be slightly easier functionality-wise, just as far as reminding people how to log in, how to sign in or join a meeting. We also, from a price perspective, found it to be more competitive than the solution we were using prior, which I won't mention. Have you found like the reliability in different parts of Zoom as more valuable than what we're using previously too, or you found it more reliable, less downtime problems or issues, or?
More reliable, less downtime, easier to use. The client can show me what they're doing, and if I need to, I can take over the mouse and do things for them. But the biggest, if I'm training a client, the biggest thing is the recording, the ability to record the training and give it to the client.
Okay.
And they like that also.
Okay. Also, I was going to mention, so you, for you folks out there, again, we're not promoting QBox, but we kind of are. So if for your QBox clients, are you sharing other file types? I know some, if you're not sharing a QuickBooks file, you maybe don't need QBox for them, but with QBox, as you know, you have the ability to share the Office formats as well. Are you able to use QBox for sharing those types of files with that?
I have one client that is doing that with their Microsoft documents and Excel files.
Okay.
Other than that, the other clients some of the clients are not as technology advanced as other clients are. So some of my QBox clients, I do the whole QBox, and once it's set up, it's running and I don't need to do anything else. Unless something happens to their computer, then I'm called in to fix it.
Okay.
So I think I did have one example where a computer completely lost their QBox installation, and I had to go back and reinstall it. I want to say TS is wonderful. He's always been there for me whenever I need him. And in that particular instance, I used Zoom to do that. I was on the Zoom with my client. I was able to call TS and have him join the Zoom session with us, which was really awesome. So I was able to have the three of us on at the same time. Okay,
perfect. Yeah, and that's kind of, you know, again, no more gratuitous mentioning of QBox, but that's kind of one of our biggest and strongest attributes is our support team. So NTS is still very much a part of that, but you know, because a lot of times just in the daily mode of life, people are adding software, deleting software, you know, Windows is sending them an update and some goofy conflict happens and the QBox icon goes away. So we want to make sure that people understand we always stand behind our product. So if you have, we always say, if you have anything that looks slightly quirky to you, just call us and, you know, let us help you out and try to answer questions, or they can chat now from the website as well. So want to make sure people know that we are available to help and support a QBox also.
Absolutely.
So what do you do with all your extra time then, since you're now not driving and your hobbies or?
well, I think the extra time gives me more face time with my clients. Most of my clients I am now doing monthly meetings with, so I can go over their financials with them, if not monthly, then quarterly. One of the other things I do, since I'm now sitting at home all the time and virtual, I enjoy taking my clients out to lunch.
Oh, excellent.
I mean, that seems, you know, there's that FaceTime that you just can't get any other way. And I like asking them, what's exciting in your business? Get a client to start talking about their business. Oh my gosh. And they don't stop. But you know what else you get there? You get also little ways of, boy, I could really help you with that. I could do this. So you get more work from your clients by doing these kind of things. Just saying, hi, how you doing? Come to lunch with me. You know, that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because a lot of times people, like with QBox, I remember early on we would have accountants tell us, well, no, I'm a very personal, hands-on person, and we would tell them, that's great, that's what we want to help you have more time for. So we just want to streamline, the way that, because the other reality we'd hear from people is that, when you're constantly going in the door, you can't build time for catching up and how are you, and a lot of times it's hard to justify even the drive time and just getting settled and actually starting to do work. It's hard to justify that time or expense it. So I appreciate you saying that it actually is giving you more face time and time to interact the way you would prefer to.
Absolutely, absolutely, and the ability to talk to them without talking financials, like in real language.
Yeah, as long as they don't get that. It was interesting. Early on, we were meeting with a large accounting firm here on the West Coast, and one of the partners, as we were describing, how QBox is going to work for them, she got this look on her face and had that kind of aha moment where she said, okay, so now these clients aren't going to bring me the proverbial shoebox with a bunch of receipts at the end of the year, and we have to struggle with, so we have the opportunity now to interact with them throughout the year and be more proactive, just like you mentioned. So you feel like you're doing more proactive service for them while still creating that opportunity to have a personal relationship. So the technology is, technology is not depersonalizing, it's personalizing the business relationship.
And also bringing in more work. Having a better idea real time what's happening with your clients allows you to get into the process at an earlier stage, as opposed to always doing the bookkeeping that always feels like after the fact. You know, when you're looking at bank statements, these things have happened a month ago. So when you're doing bookkeeping, you're actually kind of behind the times a little bit. So keeping in touch with clients brings you further, more current with them, I'll say.
Okay. Well, I know, too, you've been exploring some new apps that I'm not familiar with. I know you mentioned Bill.com. There was another one you mentioned that I have not heard from that you said you become a fanatic of.
My Rocketbook?
Rocketbook. Yes. So,
this is my Rocketbook.
Okay.
It's a notebook that I call it on steroids. Let me see if I can find some blank pages. So this really, it's like a white page. So you write on it, and then there's little charms down at the bottom. You can't really see them. You set up your destinations, and you can send it to Google Drive, or you can send it to your email or anywhere like that. So I don't have to keep notes all the time. Okay. They're already organized. They're already in my Google Drive. I can have meetings. One of the greatest things, I have meetings with my sisters. We have a project that we're doing. So I can take notes. I can have the emails, everybody's email on that page. I can write down, you know, dates and time limits and who's in charge of what. And then at the end of the meeting, I just snap a picture and send it to them, email it right to them.
Okay.
As OCR. So that's awesome too. It takes my handwriting scribble and puts it into text.
Okay. Rather than someone having to sit with a computer or transpose it later into a document or
right.
I noticed the QR code down there on the bottom of each page. So how does that integrate the QR code on the bottom of the page? Do you scan that in and that's how it identifies the page, or? Well,
I think that is part of the Rocketbook program. When you get the Rocketbook, you also have to download an app, either to your phone or a tablet. I've chosen to do it to my tablet because my phone is apped out. I have almost no memory at the end of every day for all the apps that are running behind the scenes.
Okay.
So, you know, it just makes it a little bit, the process works a little bit better, flows a little bit better. And the thing that I like about it is I know where my notes are now. I know where my information is. It's not underneath the stack of papers on my table any longer. And for me, handwriting a quick note is much, much faster than opening an app and trying to do it.
Okay.
You know, that's the other thing. How many apps can you use at one time? You know, there's a lot of apps for the same thing. So I'm trying to pare my apps down to the ones that work the best for me. Okay. So, yeah.
So on behalf of the, I know some app vendors that may be watching. Yeah, I do see crossover a lot of times in different applications. So I respectfully understand what you're saying. So Rocketbook, it's interesting though, that's kind of a mixture of old technology and new technology where you're taking a handwritten note
and I've kind of gone back to my daytimer system, which is the old handwriting binder system for timekeeping, and pulled out some of the forms that we used back then, and I've converted them to my Rocketbook. So I'm able to do like a timekeeping that's really, really working for me. I sit down with my cup of coffee in the morning, decide what I'm going to do for the day, write that down, and then I have another work diary. I don't spend a lot of time doing this, but at the end of the day, I can look at what I wanted to do versus what I did do. Sometimes they're far apart.
Okay, that's, I was gonna say that might be a bad barometer some days for me. I'll be disappointed each day. Darn, I didn't get enough done. So.
Well, after the day is over, you can look at it and you can see what happened. What squirreled me? How can I stay on track a little bit better?
Wow. I like that.
That's Sarah Laidlaw's term.
Oh,
and that's happened to me a lot with new apps. It's like, oh, this is going to solve this problem. I'm excited. Let me get my hands on it. And suddenly, 2 hours later, and
yeah. I mean, I think that's a very astute point that, each application that you want to implement into your practice, you have to evaluate the return as opposed to the investment in time to learn a new application and implement it and change your processes. And it's actually going to benefit your processes, or it's going to be more cumbersome and slow things down. So that should and could be a part of the evaluation. As opposed to people I know that just download every single app because it does some small function of their life and never really actually use them. So I'm saying that in reference to someone I helped get a new iPhone yesterday that had millions of apps, and I go, do you even use any of these? Anyways, yeah.
I can relate.
Yeah. So what, are there any other specific programs or things that have helped you to optimize your practice that you can think of? Or I know you also mentioned you mentioned Bill.com. So are you using Bill.com?
Really, revolutionized my systems. It has taken the old paper accounts payable system and automated it to the point that I no longer need to print anything. Vendors send the bills directly into Bill.com. The bill's entered. If they need to go off for approvals, that can be done, and then they're paid electronically. You don't print checks. You don't send checks in the mail. So you have supply savings as well as time savings there. Accounts receivable, that has been amazingly automated. Once a month, I used to sit down and do my billing. Then I had to, print out those invoices. Then I had to mail them out.
Okay.
And then I had to wait until the client sent me the check. Then I had to receive the payment, make the deposit, and go to the bank. My accounts receivable process now consists of opening my email. The money has arrived in your account.
Okay.
You just can't, nothing gets better than that.
Okay, that's a few processes, AR and AP, and so.
So yeah, that saves an immense amount of time in the things that I need to do for my company. That's non-billable time that I can turn into billable time.
Okay, excellent. So any other closing thoughts about to business owners like yourself, and any other things they should consider in optimizing their practice and doing more virtual support work for clients, as opposed to driving?
Beside driving. Well, play with the apps. Have fun, enjoy it, and find the apps that you like that work with your workflow and your mindset. There's all kinds of apps out there, and there is something for everyone. Okay.
Well, that's probably some of the shows, if people happen to be in the area or planning to go, that's also a great place, like a QB Connect, to walk around and try to find an app that's the particular pain point that they have, or maybe just explore some apps they didn't even realize it was a pain point, but they can optimize through technology. So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Gina. Well, thank you so much again for joining us today. We definitely appreciate you being a part of Desktop Time, and also appreciate your Hangouts, which I mean, you don't call them Hangouts anymore. You call them.
Well, no, we're calling them happy hour now.
Happy hours. That's what I thought. Okay.
It's the happy hour at the end of the week on Friday, end of the day. We're hanging out, checking out.
Finish the week.
Exactly.
So thank you very much again, Gina. And at this point, I am going to turn the floor over to Maurice, who's also been participating so far, and he's going to talk to us a little bit more, or a lot more, and give us a demo of LedgerSync. So Maurice, I'm going to turn the floor over to you at this point.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Do I need to share my screen? how it
Yeah,
goes?
if you're going to run a demo on your computer, yeah, just use the Zoom commands to share your screen.
Perfect. Okay.
Perfect, we see it.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Chris and Gina. That was really great. And thank you, Allison. I'm going to give you a brief overview of LedgerSync. And of course, feel free to ask questions at any point in time. I'll try to be brief and allow for plenty of time of questions. So in short, what is LedgerSync? LedgerSync is a software that aggregates your client's financial data. Essentially, we connect to roughly about 900 different financial institutions in North America, mainly obviously US. We connect into banks and credit card sites. And in addition, what we do with LedgerSync is we connect and we pull in transactional data, statements, check images, deposits. And so you can access your client's financial data and see it all in LedgerSync, and then you can edit the information and push it into QuickBooks. So with that, let me get started and show you how LedgerSync works.
Okay.
It first starts off by signing up to LedgerSync and then clicking on Add Client Management, in which you can then add your client. Okay, so I'd click over here, Add Client, type in the name, the client, the email address, and you have a few options. Either you can send a LedgerSync default email introducing the client to LedgerSync, so the client knows they'll have their own LedgerSync portal. They'll sign in and they'll add a bank, which I'll show you in a second. You can send them a custom email. You can generate a link and paste that into your own general email, or don't send them an invitation email at all. You would use this feature of do not send an invitation email at all if you have access to their bank or credit card account through a read-only access. And essentially you want to pull in all the data. You don't want to have to log in and check every single check by check by check. You want to look at every single check transaction. You want to have it nice and organized within LedgerSync, or you want to download all the statements in one shot. That's how you use, that's when you use this do not send invitation email, because you have access. You don't really need the client. Okay. Coming along over here, once you've added the client, they'll be able to access the portal and put in their information. Just a few more things about the client details. With LedgerSync, we've got this SMS feature, which is pretty cool. And the way it works, obviously, is you need to add the client's phone number. So you click on Add Phone Number, enter their cell phone number. It will ask you for a verification code. So the client will need to give you the verification code. Once you have that, the phone number has been verified. And what this does, which I'll talk about a bit later, but essentially what this does is banks are going to ask for tokens. There's nothing we can do about that. That's the bank security. But what we can do is we can try to mitigate and try to make it and facilitate so that it's easier to access the bank when there's a token. So what the add phone number or the SMS feature essentially does is it allows you to send a text message to your client saying LedgerSync is requesting access to your Capital One account, for example. Please type in the Capital One token, which Capital One would send. They just type in the 6-digit token into the LedgerSync text message and send it back. So no need to call up the client or to kind of schedule with them. It's just a simple text in and text out. That's it. Okay. Another feature, really quickly before I get off this page, is add email. So essentially, you can forward all your checks, all your clients' checks, all your client statements to a forwarding address. So for example, if you use auto entry, you can forward that application, you can forward all that data, the checks and the statements to that email address, or whatever email address you'd like, you can forward it to. So it's another feature that we have. Okay, so once a client's been added, they are going to show up in this list over here. You select the client and then click Add Account. Okay. Once you click on the Add Account, you'll have the option to enter in the bank So for example, I want to add Bank of America. Okay, so there's a lot of Bank of Americas. Click this, click next, select the time periods. We've got a 90-day default period, but sometimes you can adjust that. Click next, give it a meaningful name. So, click next, and the application will prompt you for, oh, sorry. Let's try to check. Sorry about that. On a test version here. It will prompt you for the credentials. I must have something wrong with my test version here. But it'll prompt you for the credentials, and you'll type that in, and you'll get the data. Once you type that in, and LedgerSync fetches the data, this is the data that you'll see. You'll have all the client's bank account information over here. You'll have a summary by account. Okay, so this is the, it'll show you the last date that it was updated, 10/02, for example. You can, for example, you can define when you want the data updated. If you want to re-update it again at a certain, from a specific time period, just for transactions or just for statements. Okay. Now we can drill down to the transactions, which is more the heart of the software. So essentially, what this will do is, what LedgerSync will do is, when we connect to a bank, we allow you to, what we do is we fetch all the, again, transactional data along with the checks. So for example, there's this check 2335. I have no idea what this is. I'll click on it and I can actually see the check. I can enter the information and I can edit it over here. I can edit the description. I can also edit the payee. Okay. For example, this is an example of a check where it has an NA because it was a mobile scan. So we pull in checks that were scanned in through the phone as well. And this shows me the check. So this was written to State Farm. Okay. So again, I can edit the information. I can see all the different, I can see the data and I can edit it. Okay. I can filter either by check number, by description, by date. I can filter by debit greater than X, credit greater than X. I can filter with checks only, etc. Okay. Once I'm done editing the data, what I will do for desktop is I will export the file either typically as a QBO file and then import that into QBO. Okay. There's great applications. I should mention Matthew Fulton with LedgerSync. They've got a great application that takes this information and they process it as well, and you can do additional data with LedgerSync. So there's other plugins that we have in as well. I'm happy to talk with you about that a bit later as well. In addition, if you want to see checks, you can click on Edit Checks, and what this will do is it will bring up a page of all the checks for the specific account. Okay, so you can see it's going to bring up the checks, and through this page you can also edit the payee and edit the description here. When you edit it here, it obviously affects the transactions page. You can, of course, either delete them or you can export them as PDFs, etc. Okay. Any questions thus far? Okay.
Yeah, I don't see any questions actually in our Q&A. I'll try to flag you when we have some come
okay,
up.
perfect. Thanks so much.
And just as a reminder, I know Maurice mentioned it, but if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to type them into the Zoom chat or question feature, and we'll do our very best to respond as we see them.
Great, thanks so much. Just continuing along, we've got another function for statements. So again, going down the process, we extract transactional data, check data, deposits, and then statements as well. So again, you can filter by different bank account, by the sub-account, by a specific date range. And what it does is it basically allows you to, this page allows you to view the check, view the statement. So here it is downloading an original Bank of America statement. Okay, so you can use that for reconciliation. Another feature we've added recently, which I think is pretty cool, I mentioned that we grab the transactions from the bank website, etc. But in addition, as a backup, and if you just want to just download it straight to, pull in the transactions directly from the statement, you can click on Convert, and either to CSV or to QBO. Okay, and what this will do is it will take in the bank statement and create a QBO file for you. Okay, you also get a report. It tells you essentially what I like with this report is it just tells you at the very end, has it been reconciled? So you don't have to double check that the numbers add up, etc. You could just click on it and click on, just verify on the show statement info, and it'll show you if it's been reconciled.
Hey, Maurice, I hate to interrupt, but as soon as I said that, of course, some questions popped up.
Right.
So I don't know if you want to answer them now, or I can...
Go ahead. Let's do it.
Okay. So the first question was, can we export in IIF format to import into QB Desktop?
Yes. So going back to the transactions page, there is an option, I believe, to export it as an IIF file. So again, we support CSV, Excel, QBO, and IIF and OFX.
And the next question was, can it read QuickBooks Desktop vendor list and chart of accounts?
Okay, not at the moment. That's where what we're partnering with LedgerSync to do that, where LedgerSync will connect into QuickBooks Desktop and pull in the vendors from there. At the moment, we're not. We have that for QuickBooks Online, but not for QuickBooks Desktop.
Okay. And then another question, by QBO, is it referring to QuickBooks Online or that one, .qbo file type for desktop, which you mentioned?
So when we export the file, it creates a .qbo file, which is the QuickBooks file to import into QuickBooks Desktop.
Okay. And do the checks automatically upload to QuickBooks? Right.
So there isn't a way to push the checks into QuickBooks Desktop. There is a function which I'll talk about over here at the very end that's still in beta to push into QuickBooks Online. So you can push the checks to QBO.
Okay.
Not yet. Not yet. We're working on that.
Okay, and last two questions, and I'll kind of step out of the way again. Do QuickBooks Pro Advisors get a free account? And then same individual, what are the pricing options? And is LedgerSync having any trouble with Chase accounts?
Okay, that's a loaded question. Okay, so we do provide a discount for advisors. I believe it's a 15% discount. Our model is different than our competitors, let's say. We work directly with the accounting firms, so essentially the accounting firm will sign up to LedgerSync. They're the administrator, and then they invite their clients. So everything is working directly with the with the accounting firm. So there's a charge, but we do discount it. There's a coupon code that when you let us know, and we'll give you that coupon code, or sign up and just let us know, and we'll apply to the to it. As far as connecting into Chase, for the most part, it's been okay. We're pulling in data from Chase every single day, and there's more and more Chase accounts being added. So not to my knowledge, there's any problems with Chase.
Okay, I think we're caught up now, so like I said,
okay, great. Okay, so moving along, so I mentioned the transactions, I mentioned the checks, we can see the checks in at them, I mentioned the statements. Kind of moving along, there's a function called client management, and what that allows you to do is, employee management. What that allows you to do is to add employees to LedgerSync and control what they see. So for example, I can click on add employee, their name, their email address, I define their password, and then I add employee. What that will do is that will invite the employee to LedgerSync. Once they're there, once they've been added, I will see their name over here, click on it, and then I can see what's assigned to them and what's available. And if I want to add a specific client to that employee, just click on this plus sign, and that will add it. If I want to take it away, I take it away. And to be really clear, when this Maurice, for example, as an employee, would log into the system, they're only going to see Larry Brown and Tim Raines. That's it. They're not going to see anyone else's data. So this is really helpful if you hire interns, or if you're hiring, or if you're working with folks that, you know, in a limited amount, you want them to see just a limited amount of information. That's how you would control it. And if you want to delete the employee completely and erase everything, and erase their access, just click on this delete button and it erases it. Okay. We have a feature here as well. So we're connected to about 900 banks at the moment, but you know, there's a long list. We're well aware of it. There's many small credit unions, there's regional banks, etc. And so we've got a feature here where you can request a new bank. Okay. Supported banks, we list all the supported banks on the site. This is always updated every time we add a new bank. It's listed over here. Just click on the letter and it's sorted alphabetically. Okay. Notification settings. So this is pretty cool. This will alert you pretty much real time via email if a client has been added and they're adding incorrect username and password information to the bank. So they're just typing in, say, dummy data just to play with it, or whatever. They're not entering the correct information. This alert will tell you and saying, hey, so-and-so is trying to add a bank account and it's invalid username and password information. Account summary. This tells you, basically gives you a summary of all the bank accounts that have been connected, the clients and the bank accounts that have been added, and it tells you whether there's a problem or there's no problem at all, kind of like a report to give you an overview of everything. And then this is the SMS notification where you need to turn it on over here. This is essentially the part where I mentioned where you can have LedgerSync text message your client when there's a token or a security question. So you can, just to reiterate, and this is really important, banks will ask security questions, banks will ask tokens. However, we can try to mitigate it by trying to manage it through the phone, so you don't have to call them up. LedgerSync will send a text message to your client asking them to please answer the security question or answer the token, and then just respond to that text message, and that will update LedgerSync, which then pushes it to the bank and everybody's happy. Okay. Moving along as well, so Gina mentioned Dropbox. So what we do is we do push the data to a number of what we call cloud storage. Essentially, we can push the data to Dropbox, ShareFile, SmartFile, Google Drive. Okay. So the way it works is it's not in real time, it's in batch. So every evening at 5 p.m. Eastern, I believe, we run a batch, and it will take all the data in LedgerSync, all the accumulated data from all your clients, and push in the data into into, say, for example, Dropbox, and it'll create either a folder, and it'll list it by client, by bank, by sub-account, meaning checking, savings, operating account, whatever bank account there, and then it'll break it out even further into further folders and say, for this account, these are the statements, for this account, these are the checks, for this account, these are the transactions. The transactions are pushed in as an Excel file. Okay. Something that we're still testing kind of in beta is you can click here and you can actually map the Dropbox folder of where you want the data to go. So yeah, this is still in beta, so we haven't tested out thoroughly, essentially, but essentially you can click here and you can define the file path. So for this client, I want the data pushed into this Dropbox folder. Okay, so you just copy and paste the folder from the URL. We're going to create videos on this, how to do this, but you essentially copy and paste the folder path from Dropbox for this particular client into here, and all the data will now be mapped into that folder. Backdating is another feature that we have as well, and that allows you to, by default, LedgerSync pulls in the last 90 days when you sign up. However, when you do need data from last tax year, so for example, 2017 at the moment, clicking on the backdating icon lists all the clients. Just select the client that you want to backdate, click on it, and it will pull the data from January 1st, 2017. There is a $30 fee for that, but that's a one-time fee. We have a page here where we call the Update All page. So basically, instead of going client by client to update information or to look at it, you've got one page that summarizes everything. You select the accounts that you want to update, for example, select the time periods that you want it updated, and then click Update Filtered Accounts. And that will update the data in mass for all your clients over here. Okay? The last thing I wanted to show really quickly is, and this is really in beta because we're still working with Intuit on this, but essentially it allows you to map data from the checks essentially to map the checks from LedgerSync into the QuickBooks Online. I know we're talking about desktop, but really quickly, this allows you to push checks into to QuickBooks Online. We're going to work on the QuickBooks Desktop component as well. Okay. The pricing, as far as the pricing is concerned, it's on our website, but essentially it starts off with the silver plan at $46, and we charge per linked account, meaning that this is considered a linked account, this is considered a linked account, et cetera, et cetera. For every bank connection that's added, it's considered a linked account. We don't look at the number of sub-accounts. So for example, this has a number of sub-accounts. We're not looking at this. We're looking at just the entire bank connections itself. And so that's how we charge. And then there's different plans. The VIP plan is the highest, and it works $2.50 after you add the first 50 accounts. And it just increments from there. Okay. Happy to take any questions, Chris.
Okay. Actually, another question. Let me pull it up here. Well, actually, I think can we change the check date from cleared date to the date written?
Excellent question. Excellent. Oh, wow. That's a great question. So that is what we are working on at the very moment. That is exactly, that's one of the projects our team is working on. I anticipate in the next week or two, you'll be able to edit the check date and check the check number and the check date as well. So we're going to make both editable.
But I'm assuming that if it's the date written, that there would have to be, you're designing the ability, but there would have to be a manual process where they would have to either.
Correct. You have to go to the transactions and edit the information. That's correct.
Okay.
We're going to be pulling the data as it appears from the bank website, but if you want to edit it, you can.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, is there any profile, I know you work with financial professionals like we do, but do you find there's a certain profile of client type that financial professionals are finding it most applicable to, contractors, anything like that? Is there any niche user that you're seeing most frequently?
Quite honestly, the gamut has been pretty wide. I mean, I know there's doctors, I know there's lawyers, there's contractors. There isn't a specific, there isn't specific industry or specific user type. It's just been really broad. When we're supporting, close to 600 firms, and each of those firms have their clients, we have to cater to as many individuals or business needs as possible. So there isn't a specific need, a specific one.
Just out of curiosity, I know some folks might be in some smaller areas that maybe have that unique credit union you mentioned. I'm assuming there's a process where they can add their import if they already have it from their website.
Correct. There's a form. You click on this request extractor in purple, and now there's a form. I don't need to bring it up, but essentially there's a form. Just answer the form, and then we'll schedule a date to get it done.
Okay.
That's how we do it today. And everything is secure. It goes to our secure environment where we build it and test it. Just to be really clear, we do need access to the bank if we're going to do a small credit union, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Each bank has its own set of code because we are connecting to the bank website. And
Okay.
so we do need access to that account in which the form will request. But once we get access to that, we can build it pretty quickly.
Okay. And I'm assuming once you add a bank, if someone else happens to be at that same bank, you've done the groundwork, so it's an easy process to add them.
That's exactly it. Correct.
Okay, because you mentioned how many connections do you say you currently have?
About 900 now.
So I'm assuming some part of that was also an evolution of client users, and all right, you probably have relationships with some, you know, the Chase Banks and the Wells Fargos and the Bank of Americas, but others were added through client use?
Yeah, it's mainly added through client use.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. How do we connect to me? Thank you. So one of the things we strive to do here at Desktop Time also is we'll make sure everyone that participated today joined us live, in addition to those that are just registered with Desktop Time, we'll send them a follow-up email. And so we'll include information of how to make sure that you can reach Maurice and or Gina if you like, and we'll give some follow-up links and connections and any resources they're going to want to provide. I did have one question for you, Maurice. You mentioned pricing. Can you go to the home page of your website? Like if I just want to look up LedgerSync, what's the landing page going to look like, and does that give some kind of core information about the product and also the pricing?
Sure. So let's go to the website here.
Okay.
And this gives you information about the application, what we do. But
Okay.
if you want pricing, you can click on Let's Begin over here, or pricing actually is here on accountants and bookkeepers, and scroll down, and the pricing is right here.
Okay, perfect. One other question just came through also, and the question was, does your typical client have their customers' QuickBooks files in one location, such as they're at the accounting firm? So I don't know if you can kind of catch the...
Sorry, I didn't understand the question. One more time, Chris.
So does your typical client have their customers' QuickBooks file in one location, such as they're at the accounting firm? So when you're implementing LedgerSync, is it interacting with their file, or is it interacting with the financial professional's file, and somehow the data is being simultaneously provided to the other copy? Or
no, so we're not. Okay, so let me take a step back. So what LedgerSync is doing is we're a cloud-based solution, and what we're doing is we're connecting to the client's bank accounts and pulling in the financial data. So it's all cloud-based, and then when we create the QBO file, or the .qbo file, the QuickBooks file to import into QuickBooks Desktop, essentially it's all done through the browser where they click on the transactions page and export the file as a QBO file. It would be downloaded to, in this case, the accountant's desktop, right? It's downloaded onto their computer. They just pick it up there and import it as through the web connector.
okay, perfect. Well, and also, again, not to put in a plug, but if they're syncing to a file they're sharing through QBox will update everyone else with the updates they receive. Exactly. So I didn't say that, though. You didn't hear that from me. This is a bird flew by and told me. Okay, I think that was all the questions. So anything else you want to share with us, Maurice, about LedgerSync? Again, I'm assuming and hoping and expecting you to give me some good follow-up information we can email to everyone so they can reach you.
Absolutely, I'll do that, and then we'll include a coupon code as well. We'd love to thank everybody for attending Desktop Time, etc., and we'd love to work with you and get it going and try to really take the pain out of chasing clients for their financial data, not have to ask their clients, what's this check, what's that check, or try to reconcile statements. We'll pull in the statements, convert it for you, and we'll allow you to update it really nice and easy into Desktop. And then QBox will do all the syncing.
You didn't. He said that, not me. That was from the other side. I didn't ask them to say that, so. But yeah, but that, I mean, that's the reality though. In fact, you know, as you know, we did a webinar a month or so ago talking about how you can integrate these products. So you're giving them a simple way to retrieve that data from their online resources, and we're giving them a way to take that data and transmit it to the people in their copy of QuickBooks. So, so again, I just get in trouble if I over promote QBox. So, but Maurice did it. So. So thank you very much again to both of you for joining us today. Thank you for those of you that were able to take time out of your busy day and join us live. As Gina was reminding me, I guess there was some tax deadline Monday or something. I don't know. So
I was talking about Maurice's program, LedgerSync. I love the texting feature. Like if you're trying to get online or trying to get information from a bank and need that password, you can text it. That's great.
Yeah, that's it's been a real time saver. And when I use it myself, like for example, Wells Fargo has a two-factor authentication. You know, even whatever system I were to use, you know, whether it's online or even if I were just to give access to my account and say, here's access to my username and password to Wells Fargo, because I turned on two-factor authentication and the text code comes only to my phone, then they're basically stuck. So by using this texting method, at least I can quickly respond to the client and say, or respond to the account and say, here's the 6-digit code, you know, and it plugs it in and updates the data.
Okay. Okay, well thank you. We are kind of getting close to the end of our time here. If anybody had any other questions, please don't hesitate to send them now. Otherwise, again, we'll provide information for Gina and Maurice in the follow-up email. So if you're like me and you remember an hour from now what you wanted to ask, you can email that to them directly and they'll be happy to answer that. But again, thank you.
Question if we connect into share file, the answer is yes, we do connect into share file.
Okay. Oh, do that. Okay. All right, you caught one I didn't catch. If you have any other questions, again, feel free to shoot them over to us, and if they even come into this forum after we're done, we'll forward them to Maurice also. So thank you very much again to Gina and Maurice for joining us today. We have Desktop Time's now been around. This is our second year, and we've taken November off the last year and now this year. Just a short month for everyone with Thanksgiving. We do have a scheduled Desktop Time in December. We're going to have MB Raimondi, who many of you know, and our vendor's going to be Bill and Paid. So we'll look forward to seeing you in December. We're also in December going to talk more about Desktop Time in 2019. We've already been scheduling vendors, and we have a kind of a slightly new look. We're hoping to add CPE credits as well. So we'll talk more about that in December. But again, not to over-mention it, but if you haven't signed up for QB Connect, we'd really love to see you there. Make sure you sign up if you're planning to go. I haven't talked to Maurice to see if he'll be there. I don't think Gina's going to make it.
Plan on being there, yeah.
You'll be there? Okay. So please stop by and see us. I think I just got our booth number today, but I'm not sure what it is. But you can find, or QBox, you'll find us. We've got some cool new swag, including this bracelet. Most people know I love to wear these anyways, but we've got a really cool new shirt we engineered this year, designed, and so, but more than anything, we'd just love to meet you and find out if we can help you out in any way, as would Maurice. So please stop by and say hello, introduce yourself, and we'd be happy to see if maybe QBox is a fit for some of your clients or LedgerSync. So thank you very much again for joining us today. Thank you, Gina and Maurice, for joining us. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and rest of the week, and we'll look forward to seeing you here in December and maybe at QB Connect next month. So take care, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, everyone.